And as always, we're going to be looking for accurate context, good risk management, and always exercising good patience.
Anytime you're talking about fundamentals in a market and direction, fundamentals take a little bit of time to play out.
We got crude oil today, kind of trading yesterday's value area really nicely, low to high.
That's what we're here for, is to put ourselves in the best success. A trade routine does that, builds that habit, lets you know what to work on, what to reflect on, and what to improve on the next day.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Market Recap. Still Tuesday, November the 4th. I'm John Hoagland, sitting in for Dan the Man Hodgman. Hopefully the markets have been good to you. I'm seeing a little bit of a delay here in my feed. I will have this fixed by Monday. Interesting day. Nice long off the open in the ES this morning, off of the late spike that occurred after that long rally yesterday, as we had a couple of opening range trades that were pretty beneficial for us today in gold and in the mini S&P as well. Wasn't quite the opening range trade. We did take one little look lower in the S&Ps before continuing to move this market higher, but really falling range bound overall before the unemployment number tomorrow. Kind of glancing over what the markets did. We're going to look at the charts here in a second. Crude oil, those overnight longs that we talked about this morning, started a real fire to the downside, creating a significant break. There was, news of OPEC not increasing the amount of output they're going to be putting out, even though with pressure from the U.S., and the market breaks anyway. So our audio didn't catch up. All right, yeah, I'm having a little bit of trouble, so I got to do a little work over the weekend and make sure that I get everything nice and solid for next week. Thanks for letting me know about that. The E-mini, S&P, and the NASDAQ both posted new all-time highs prior to the unemployment numbers due tomorrow. Of course, we know that. The Dow, on the other hand, did not. Gold rallies off the rejection of the test below weekly kickoff low. Again, an opening range trade that first minute of trade sometimes can give you a really good idea of buyer or seller control right off the open. The euro probes price levels around the weekly kickoff low, just kind of rejects lower pricing for now. The 10-year rates tumbled throughout the day today, taking price right up against that weekly kickoff high. Might be an interesting day tomorrow for the 10-year in the natural gas. Kind of price probing both directions, high to low. Well, middle to high to low to high, back to middle. Kind of a random walk today in the nat gas. So Vince is pointing out may be putting in a late spike now. We have to take a look at that. Thank you, Vince, for pointing that out. As always, got to say hello to everybody. PD Legend, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a little bit, I feel. David, good afternoon. Ricardo, Spencer. The audio lag, I guess, has been taken care of. Zorain, good afternoon. Vince, good afternoon. Ricardo, yes, thank you for letting me know. Ocean Blue, I'm glad to be here with you as well, Ocean Blue. Thank you very much. Late spike possible here in the ES. Boy, just a few minutes ago when I kind of closed down one of my platforms so that I can try and get solid broadcasting, it was still right in the middle. I guess we're getting a nice little pop to the upside, apparently. I've been saying this forever. How do you buy and hold a morning run like the NASDAQ this morning? It's got to be the hardest thing to do is buy a nonstop market. You know, we was discussing that with a bunch of traders today, and with the equities continually making highs, it's so difficult to try and just hold on to that because everybody's thinking the same thing. When is the pullback going to happen? Now, I've been watching the S&Ps for over 30 years, and they just continue to grind shorts to the upside, This is a pretty ballistic move we've got going on here. It can't sustain forever. The question is, when is it going to turn? How do we buy at highs? It's so difficult. And typically, if buying is the more difficult thing to do, if it's easy to sell it because it's so strong, it's probably the wrong thing to do. The hardest thing to do is typically going to be the right thing to do until it isn't. I'm saying these markets are going to continue to grind higher until everybody has capitulated and said, "That's it. I can't sell it anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and buy it." And when all the buyers are in, that's when it's going to turn around. Good afternoon to you, Myrick. Charles, good to see you. PB&J, ES setting up for tomorrow morning. Well, we'll take a look at that. As a matter of fact, why don't we do so now? Give me 1 second, and as always, we start with the daily and crude, just going left to right, no particular order. And let's take a look. All right, now I've got the different mic on. Hopefully, you can hear me. I'm going to start here, and I'll check in a moment to make sure that you can. So this morning in the crude oil, we had a lot of overnight longs. Yesterday, the strong dollar emboldened sellers to take the market below the weekly kickoff low. Overnight information or information about OPEC squeezed those shorts and got the overnight really long. So, we started the regular trading hour session all the way up here. Look where we've ended up. This is I knew it was going to be a tricky day and it was going to take some patience, but when we take a look at the regular trading hour session today, I'm going to put the profile on here. Here we go. So when the market settlement price was all the way down here, it was 80.86. We had some sellers come in, try and close this market down below weekly kickoff low. This late spike didn't come in until technically after the close. Settlement was still above. Well, that probably brought in some buyers that were weaker hands. When those weaker hands buyers couldn't see new business coming in to push the market back to the upside, they're the ones that started this fire to the downside, which basically took us within the first hour and a half back to settlement, back to point of control from yesterday, which basically was settlement. That took us to a test of weekly kickoff low. We randomly kind of wandered around it. At one point, though, this bar ended up being the high of this bar ended up being 80.50 weekly kickoff level, and that's when the sellers decided to come in and start to push this market lower. Now, I kept seeing conflicting information that OPEC had agreed to 400,000 more barrels per day that they were going to release, thinking that was part of the problem. But now I've been kind of filtering through some of the news and information. Doesn't look like that's the case. So while we were trying to push OPEC into producing more oil, they have not agreed to, but still price has moved lower. I know we had some boosts in U.S. Supplies on Wednesday and Thursday with the API and the EIA. I'm a little surprised by the way the market has responded this much lower. But hey, I don't get to choose. We have to trade what we see, right? All right, let me make sure we're running correctly here, loud and clear. Sounds good. Okay, good. So let's take a look at the S&Ps now, which just continues to grind to the upside. You know, we were talking this morning about how volume wasn't really impressive in the futures, although we did have an 8.5 increase in total volume in New York, in the New York Stock Exchange yesterday. You know, that's good. That's healthy auction process. Let me go back to this one. Okay. So, you know we've been rallying. These rallies just continue to roll over shorts. We didn't really. We had a 30,000 loss in open interest yesterday. Well, that's not new longs coming in. That's shorts scrambling out. The shorts continue to try and pick tops here, and they just keep getting run out. We see it happening again today. The market putting in what appears to be close to or at new highs this afternoon. Let's take a look. So stopping just short of a late spike, just taking price basically right back to the high of the session before turning around. You know, tomorrow morning, let's see what this market looks like. Let's see what happens overnight. We've got important information in the unemployment numbers due out tomorrow. That's also going to be something that's going to be affecting the marketplace, going to be affecting our decision making. We're going to have to try and remain patient tomorrow. You know, overnight longs. Well, we left the opening range at the high of the session for just a minute, and then we started our grind back to the upside, which basically completed through the end of the session. The NASDAQ, we're still looking at this morning's notes. We had weekly kickoff high in play. We were just above it, but as this market began to open up, and we continue the grind to the upside. One-time framing activity remains. Don't fight it. 30-minute chart. Okay, the market opens, tests weekly kickoff low, finds buyers, and continues. I'm going to try and stop this jerking around, and continues all the way through the 1 o'clock session here, just continuing to push higher and then falling into range bound activity. So what happens? New all-time high again. Gold this morning. Okay, we tested down 2. We did close below weekly kickoff low, but in the extended trading hours, we closed back above it. Last night, we traded down 2 weekly kickoff low. This morning, our opening range was the low of the session. We opened with a gap. We talked about the idea that there may be a possible repair day. It didn't happen. When the opening range was left at the low, it was all buyers for the better part of the morning. We tested to this point of control. We did mention this point of control as a potential target, but we didn't quite get there. We still left a gap from today to yesterday and from yesterday to the day before. This is going to be a structural weakness that if we don't start to become directional very soon, will be refilled relatively soon. The euro, here we go. We got a nice test down to weekly kickoff low. The dollar strength pushed us down there last night. We had a pretty decent increase in open interest on yesterday, but it wasn't very impactful. Here's what it looked like on the 30-minute chart today. We opened, we closed the gap, rejected value from yesterday, turned around, took a good look down below weekly kickoff low, but closed back above it. I think that there's probably some more probing that we're going to see against weekly kickoff low in coming days. We'll have to see how the market treats it at that time. The 10-year, we have in a second. Rates tumbled throughout the day today, so finally we're going to see some potential breakout of the short time frame balance area we've been in, and a little bit of a longer time frame area of balance we've been in. Market took us pretty close to that weekly kickoff high, within a full tick of it before coming off. Here's the 30-minute. Here we opened in range, rejected value, closed above last week's high. Here's our test of weekly kickoff high. The market really just kind of continuing to try and push up to that level. If rates continue to drop, and I think part of that reason is the UK decided to leave rates where they are. So I think that's suggesting that we may not see rates rise here anytime real quick, and we saw our rates actually drop today. So natty gas, range bound. I like this one. Well, I don't have it here. Well, so we're kind of relaying back and forth. The tennis players in the center of the court here. We added through 30,000 contracts in open interest yesterday on an up move. We held those levels today. Didn't really find much directional. Take a look at the 30-minute chart. That's not it. This one's it. So, just kind of noticing, we opened pretty close to settlement. There was no real overnight inventory with which to think about. The market drove higher and then put in a low and then put in a new high and then finished the day pretty much right where it started. No real good information in this market today. If you were a range-bound trader and you picked the right spots, you probably had a pretty good day. But I think it would be reasonable to say that it was a relatively tough day trading the natural gas today. So let's go back, and here we are. Yeah, the natty gas went nowhere. Tim, the weekly kickoff levels are levels that I calculate on Friday afternoons, typically, sometimes over the weekend. But we do put them out on an email that we put out on Sundays. The weekly kickoff email is some good information in that email, not just the charts, but some trading advice and the important releases and things that are coming out that day. They're all in that email, but those levels are not necessarily meant to be chosen to pick the high and the low of the week or anything like that. Those are just levels that I calculate that tend to be more important levels in longer time frame. Areas where I think that the longer time frame might be forced into adjusting their inventories, and we like to know when they're going to be in. Now, the longer time frame is in the markets a little bit every day. It's those levels that I look for them to increase their activity, and then I'm going to be watching for them. Hopefully you find them useful. Okay, now Dan usually does this day in history. It's a cool day in history. November the 4th. The entrance to King Tut's tomb was discovered on November 4th, 1922. I remember when the whole King Tut's tomb tour went to the Field Museum here in Chicago. There were hour-long waits to go through it, and everybody in Chicago, and I think around the world, became an instant Egyptologist. And it was a lot of fun. My mother, everybody's mother, was crazy about King Tut. And I'm trying to remember what year that was. I think it was around 1977, 1978, which I'm probably, of course, dating myself, but that's just the way it goes. I think that's the last time that collection has been here in Chicago. November 4th, 2008, Barack Obama is elected the first black president. 1979, we don't want to talk about that. 1842, on November 4th, Abraham Lincoln marries Mary Todd. 1948, T.S. Eliot wins the Nobel Prize in Literature. And one of my favorite movies, because my mom is from South Dakota, in 1990, the film Dances with Wolves premieres in theaters. This day in history and music, I did not know this. In 1966, the Beach Boys' Good Vibrations entered the UK chart and went on to be the UK and US #1 hit single. But as a child, Brian Wilson's mother had told him that dogs could pick up vibrations from people, and so that the dog would bark at bad vibrations. So that's why Brian Wilson came up with Good Vibrations. If you don't know the song, or you think you don't know the song, I'll bet you do. 1963, Rolling Stones, John Lennon information. 1963, it's hard to believe the Stones are actually still touring. But they had just come off a 30-date UK tour with the Everly Brothers and kicked off another 50-date UK club tour that on November the 4th. The 1963, the Beatles topped the bill at the Royal Variety Show at the Prince of Wales Theatre in London. The Queen Mother and Princess Margaret were in the audience. This is the night when John Lennon made his famous remark, "In the cheaper seats, you clap your hands. The rest of you just rattle your jewelry." John Lennon. Right. 1971, The Who opened up the Rainbow. Finsbury Park, London, England, appearing on the first of 3 nights. In 1991, Bobby Blue Bland, Booker MT, the MGs, Johnny Cash and Jimi Hendrix, and the Isley Brothers, Sam and Dave, and the Yardbirds were all elected to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. If you're not a Yardbirds fan, you gotta give them a listen sometime. So some of the things that they were doing, and if you don't know, the Yardbirds was a band. It was the '60s that had 3 very famous guitarists at different times. It was Eric Clapton and Jeff Beck. Eric Clapton, I think, was first, and then Jeff Beck took over for Eric Clapton, and then Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin took over for Jeff Beck. And then the band ended, and the Led Zeppelin was initially called the New Yardbirds, and then they changed the name to Led Zeppelin. And I think that's enough of that for today. Oh, see the movie Love and Mercy. It's about Brian and that song. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. So today was Thursday. Tomorrow's Friday. The last day to write in this week's chapter of this year's trading book. Look forward to another interesting and challenging trading day. I hope that your trading day today was good. Hope your trading day tomorrow was even better. I'll see you tomorrow at 7:45 for the market forecast, and that's going to be it for us for the week. Get a good night's rest and be ready for tomorrow. Could be a big one. We'll see. Nobody knows. See you tomorrow. Good night.